Today, we have an expert here to talk about a business book, Behind the Glass Doors. I read it personally and highly recommend. For those who know me, I also come from the corporate world working with HR. And our author today, Donna Wilson, is going to bring all the details that you, Brazilian, Portuguese, executive, entrepreneur, working abroad, or starting your own company would like to know. So I'd like to welcome our author today to start talking to us and enlighten us about this brilliant subject.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. This is a wonderful opportunity. I love talking about the book. I love talking about my learnings over the course of several decades. And I look forward to sharing this information with you.
Dana, what a pleasure to have you here. So please tell our audience, just to get started, for those who want to know more about her, she's going to have her own page in our show, and you can go and watch the 60-minute executive where she's going to explain everything you want to know, everything about her career, how the book came up. But here in a nutshell, she's going to tell us what she does and what inspired her to write this marvelous book.
So, hi, I'm president of Strategic Intersections. It's a management consulting company, and I work with very large not-for-profits as well as corporations to develop innovative business strategies to address unique needs in the market for them. And what inspired me to write the book was that having so many years in corporate America, I really came in contact with a number of mentees that I mentored over the years, as well as colleagues that were really tripping over themselves, and they really didn't understand what they needed to do. They understood that it was important to be successful and to be successful in their job, but they didn't understand the rules for engagement. And so I thought it was critically important that I write a book on what those 10 unwritten rules were.
Awesome. And that's exactly my next question. I love your tagline, beautiful cover, everything, and the unwritten rules for success and fulfillment. So would you review a few of them? Not all, obviously, they'll read the book, but why these unwritten rules? This is so interesting because we who work in corporate, we know there is the corporation, the culture of people who come, especially people who come from abroad, mixing with the locals. So we have that type of culture mixed with the corporate culture and different things in the same pot. So a lot of unwritten rules, very well chosen, this subtitle. Could you explain a little bit to those who are arriving now and don't know very well what these rules can be, how you spot them, and what could you enlighten us a little bit about this?
Absolutely. So first of all, one of the unwritten rules is making sure that when you have great ideas, to make sure that you present those ideas extremely strategically as well as backed by data. Data is absolutely critical to prove your own point. And so many times people will come to you with an idea, but they haven't really thought it through. They really don't have any idea on how they're going to make it successful. It's just something that they want to share with you. It's an idea, it's a concept. But what you need to do is you need to take time and really develop that concept. Not just from an idea, but into a reality. You don't have to have everything fully baked or thought through, but you have to have some idea on why it would be successful and what is needed to make it successful. And so data needs to back everything that you're willing to talk about in terms of your idea. That's critically important. The other thing is I talk about my faith. And I'm a very spiritual person, and I don't wear my faith on my sleeve, but it is who I am. I'm an authentic human being. So my faith is very, very important. And oftentimes when it comes up in conversations that people that I would pray before every one of my meals, and people saw that. So people saw that I was very spiritual, and they would sit me down and talk to me about things that were going on in their life. They wanted prayer, and I was comfortable doing that. I wasn't afraid to share that I was very comfortable with my own faith and how important faith played out. It also played out in a lot of my decisions in terms of always, always, always making the right decisions for all of the right reasons and never judging anyone. And so faith was very, very important to me. as well as data. The other thing was being comfortable being the only one in the room. Sometimes you're the only person that may look like you, or a person of color, or a woman. You may be the only person that looks like yourself. And it's important that you're comfortable speaking up for yourself. It's important that you're comfortable speaking up for whatever that topic is that you're presenting. It's critically important that as you have that data to support your rationale, that you're comfortable saying that this is why you believe this would be successful. Some people are going to look at you and not want to do it. Some people are going to want to take the easy path or the cheapest path or the path of least resistance. You have to stand your ground and be comfortable saying that I don't think that's the direction that we could go in, that we should go in. And so it's critically important that people understand that you stand for integrity, you stand for honor, you stand for doing the right thing at all times. Those are critically important skills that you need to continue to embrace. And so those were just a few of the things that I think are just unwritten rules for my success.
Brilliant. Very, very interesting. And one thing, when you said, I would love to elaborate a little bit on something super smart you said, which is when everybody's against you and you're the only one holding that position, that you have to keep fighting for it. In your expert experience, how can one do that without sounding like inflexible?
So, that's a great question. So here at the end of the day, ultimately the decisions are made with the most senior person. They have every ability and the authority to make the final decision, which is fine. And I understand and I respect that. But my job is to make sure that as I'm presenting a particular case or an argument for why we should move in this direction versus that direction, it needs to, again, be steeped in data, steeped in facts, what the cost is to the company by doing it in the moving left and not right, and presenting all of that information. And if people still decide that, or people argue that, well, we shouldn't do it because it's cost prohibitive, or we shouldn't do it because of X or Y, that's fine. But I will lean in and say that the cost of doing it and moving in that direction is going to cost the reputation of the company. And there is no dollar amount that you can put on the reputation of a company. And I will let my argument speak for itself. And then it will ultimately be up to the leadership to decide. I will tell you, and I'm not bragging on this, in every single situation, they erred on my side. The decision that they aired on my side, regardless of how much it was going to cost, they always thought that I had honor, integrity, and respect and fairness in every recommendation that I was given, and they always went with my decision.
Awesome. It all comes back to what you said first, having done your homework.
Yes.
So you know the whole process, you thought of the whole strategy, and you also have data to back you up. That's very important. In your experience, when I was working with HR, sometimes people came to us and said, I'm not going to talk about anything anymore. Nobody ever takes my ideas. And the problem was exactly what you said. They were ideas, loose in the air. So they had nothing backing them up. So how can you, other than just saying, hey, do your homework, you need to come more prepared. People sometimes already have some sense that there is bias for whatever reason, and they get discouraged. So in your opinion, training people or in your speaking engagements, have you ever encountered a group in a company who either the leaders were complaining about it or people were talking about, I don't feel encouraged to participate in the decision-making process of this company because they don't listen to me. And when you went a bit further, you noticed that it was more words than homework. And when you explained, people resisted. Did you have this kind of problems in
Yes.
your experience?
Yes. And so what I saw was that I would always lead with questions. So I would say, Donna, why do you feel that way? Tell me what you've actually presented that resulted in you feeling this way. Give me an example. So I would try to drill down to get to an understanding of why they felt they were feeling the way that they were feeling. In many cases, what I felt was, and what I was getting from them, is that they hadn't done the necessary research to support what they wanted to bring forward. That's number one. Number two, they were making assumptions that what they had to offer, no one was willing to listen to. Number three, they also felt that, and well, what I also noticed was that they didn't have the presentation skills to actually convince an audience. And so they not only had they not done their homework and had it steeped in data, but they also didn't have the presentation style that it was critically important in order to make sure that an audience understood where they were going. So for example, if you wanted to present a strategy, know that no one wants to read a 20-page strategy on a particular problem. No one does. And so what you need to do is to keep it to 2 or 3 pages and be very concise and very succinct. And writing skills is going to help you do that, having very, very strong writing and communication skills. And some people don't feel comfortable with that. Some people are too wordy. Some people don't know how to get to the conclusion. Some people assume that everything in the kitchen sink needs to be in their proposal. Why? Because they think it's important. No. If you could solve the world's problems in 2 pages, that's how you have to think about it. And because people aren't going to spend 2 hours reading a document, and so you have to be clear and you have to be concise.
I love something that you said about design your own opportunities. Here during trainings in companies, some people say, you know what, I started in this company filled with dreams, but it was not for me. But the money was good, so I stayed for 1, 2, 3 years. Now I don't want to leave, but it's not where I want to spend the rest of my life. At the same time, I have bills to pay. So how do I do this transition? And sometimes to transition elsewhere, they need to acquire new skills. What would be your recommendation? Because I saw when I read this chapter, I thought it was very intriguing the way you talk about design your opportunity. Could you tell your audience a little bit about this?
Absolutely. So I love designing my next opportunity. A mentor 30 years ago said to me that, Donna, as you continue to progress in your career, you're going to hit the glass ceiling. And you're going to have to determine what you want to do next. And so what you need to keep in mind is that what do you want to do after you've done what you've done? And so I always was constantly in the learning mode. I always was interested in solving problems that had either never been solved or people simply gave up and said that it just wasn't cost effective. So I always live in that innovation white space. So I'm always looking for opportunities in which I can do something differently. So I'm constantly looking for problems. I love to solve problems. And so I always looking for, so what would I do next? What is the next thing I wanted to do? And oftentimes those opportunities, again, presenting problems, backing them with data, and being able to show that if we go in this direction, how much money it can make for the company, or if we tweak this or change this, how much money we can save in the company. Many of those are opportunities that led to brand new positions that did not presently exist. And so I love designing my next opportunity. I love looking at opportunities where there isn't anyone in these roles and we need to have those positions in order to leverage some of the skills that I had, but also to look at opportunities for growth for the company. I love designing that next job for myself because once you reach a certain level, then what do you want to do? Because every single job description and every single level within a company, at some point you can only get to, but so many to only get to level 2 or level 3 or level 4. But then what do you want to do once you've reached level 4? So you have to constantly be thinking about what you'd want to do next. And sometimes you may have to leave a company. You may have to do that. If there isn't that opportunity for your growth, if there isn't that opportunity for innovation, if there isn't that opportunity for them to value what you have, then be prepared to leave the country. Leave the company. But keep in mind that at the entire time, your skills are transferable. Transferable skills are critical. And so keep in mind that you have transferable skills that can transfer to any company, any industry, anywhere in the world.
Interesting point you presented. In that case, for people who have other commitments like family, and they say, "I'm not happy here. I want to grow. There is no growth in this company." How do you recommend they do this transition? They would start studying, learning new skills on the side. Already made the decision. I'm going to leave this company. I'm going to allow myself another 6 months here, 1 year here, until I'm prepared. And literally, they cannot be without a job. So they would start looking for jobs in other places before they leave. Have you have any experience in this? Because I talk to a lot of people that are in this place, and if you have any tips on this
So,
specific part, would be very helpful.
yes. So, first of all, understand what you don't know, you don't know. The grass is not always greener on the other side. That's number one. Understand what you want to do next. I never, ever leave a company for money. Never, never. Money is not a motivating factor for me to take another job. It is not. It is really something that people have to look at and really take stock into. So I will encourage people to actually take a minute, sit down, do pros and cons, write down a list, and determine what you don't like about your current job. What are you looking for? What are the jobs and what are the skills that you have to offer? What are the types of jobs that you're interested in doing? Is it not that you can't do them at this present company, or are you simply not mentored and sponsored within this company so that you can express those new ideas and what you'd like to do next with those senior leaders? Because the grass is not always greener on the other side. You may get to that other company and realize, oh my gosh, I don't know what I did. I should have never left. So, first of all, take stock in what you want to do next. Make sure that you have the skills necessary to transfer into that new company. Make sure that you have the sponsorship and mentorship that you're going to need in order to advance within that company. And so I always ask people to take stock, do a list, pros and cons. What do you want to do next? What are the skills you need to improve? What's the role that you'd like to do? And before you make any final decisions.
Make sure all that is reality, not just a dream or an expectation. Yeah,
Absolutely.
understood. And I noticed that you use the word glass a lot. The name is behind the glass doors, and you just talked about a glass ceiling. So is that also kind of a metaphor for all the invisible forces and the things like the invisible rules that exist there?
Yeah, I mean, behind the glass doors, the reason why I came up with that title was largely because, so many people, and I'll speak for myself in particular, I really like the idea that I had the opportunity to walk into this beautiful skyscraper and make a lot of money and have that corner office. I just love that. I had aspirations of doing that from day one. Day one, I wanted to have that. But then once you get there, once you walk into that door and you get to that top floor in that corner office, understand that there are a lot of rules for engagement that you do not know you don't know. And so that's why it was critically important for me to talk about behind the glass doors. So many people want to be behind the glass doors because of what those glass doors represent. So many people are interested in that, which is great, and that's fine. But the only way you'll get to be successful is to understand what the rules are when you get behind that glass door. And it's just critically important. And that's why, sure, it's a beautiful building on the cover of that book. But unless you understand, once you walk through that revolving door, and it's set up as a revolving door for a reason, once you walk through that revolving door, it's critically important for people to understand that there are rules to your success. And just being great at your job is not going to land you that top floor corner office. And that's what that book is really all about.
So I would like to ask you, Dana, today, what somebody here in the United States or in Portugal, Brazil, a lot of people come from abroad, most of our audience, Portuguese and Brazilian, who comes here as an executive or a businessman, and they want to start a business, or they already expanding their businesses. They have between 50 and 100 employees, not like enormous companies. So what some of these people who would be interested in what you have to offer could learn, in a nutshell, from reading your book?
So when people pick up this book, it's going to give you those 10 unwritten rules for success and fulfillment that I will guarantee will end up being successful for you. And it also is going to give people a roadmap for how to go about bringing about these 10 unwritten rules, and how, so it also gives you a bit of a direction or a guide on how you can bring about and be successful at those 10 unwritten rules. It's not just for corporations, it's for any individual that is interested in developing themselves, being successful in whatever their career is, whether it's corporate America or entrepreneurs or outside of corporate America and doing your own businesses. Any opportunity that you're interested in being successful, these rules apply across industry, across jobs.
Marvelous. Thank you so much for your presence here today. And I'm sure people don't miss this opportunity to check out this book. I read it personally. It really brings a lot. As she said, it can be either for companies or individuals who want to grow their career and be not only more profitable, but also happier.
So thank you, everyone. It was so exciting to have this conversation with you. I'm part of the Washington Speakers Bureau. I do speaking engagements all over the world. I'm really, really excited to talk about not only the 10 unwritten rules, but also inspiring audiences on how they can get to their next levels, as well as how to look at innovation and success through transformational thinking. So it's wonderful opportunities. Please feel free to reach out, and I'd be happy to have that conversation with you.